Hey, everybody, welcome to a Thursday, December 28th, 2023 Cup of Ray. Of course, I'm down here at the world famous Krabby's on the Pass. I want to thank the staff. I want to thank everybody down here. They're always so accommodating. They've got such great food. They've got such a million world's longest waterfront open bar. I mean, that says it all. Of course, right behind me there's the Johns Pass Bridge. I got to check and make sure I have audio. But it was funny. I was sitting here watching the boats go by, and I get popped on my phone. So excuse me, and it's talking about Florida State players still saying that if they're the only undefeated team after all these bowl shakeouts, after all this next week and a half, and of course the Buccaneers are still kicking it live with a chance to lock up their third consecutive NFC South title on Sunday versus the Saints here. Let me just get to Peter's page. Oh, okay, so it's there. Let me make sure I have volume. Sorry. I do. So I'll do a little share. Surprise. Like it's a surprise to anybody, just so it gets on my own page. They're the Florida State Seminoles, of course, playing in the Orange Bowl versus the Georgia Bulldogs, who got knocked from that high pedestal. A minute ago, they were going to be possibly the third consecutive team to win a national championship. They're in the playoffs. No, they're not. They're just outside looking in, playing Florida State in the Orange Bowl. And the narrative, I hope you guys like the view. I'm going to try to stay centered. It's just the rain just kind of passed through. It's 58 degrees here in Tampa Bay. I know a lot of y'all are watching from areas all around the continental or the contiguous United States and even other countries, and maybe 58's not that cold to you. But here in Tampa, 58's a snow day. I mean, things closed. It's why I'm down here. I actually took some time to be with the family. I was trying to make the case for Jayden Daniels, of course, the LSU quarterback, and of course, this year's Heisman Trophy winner with the fantastic season he had, and he wins the award. And I wanted to see him play in the ReliaQuest Bowl, of course, get the credentials, picking him up tomorrow at the coaches' conference between Wisconsin Badgers coach Luke Fickell and, of course, Brian Kelly, the coach for the LSU Tigers. Wanted to see Jayden play in this game, but I knew he was going to the draft. I understand it's a business. So at the end of the day, the kid says, I'm playing. He's got to protect his, and that's just the way this ball's rolling. But I wasn't even planning on talking about college playoffs. I did want to talk about the ReliaQuest Bowl. I'm so excited for this matchup. Of course, the historical 37th year that we've had, the very first bowl game of the year, 2004, 11 a.m. We'll be there at Raymond James on Sunday. Peter Blake, myself, Leo Haggerty, the legend, and the rest of the Amped Up crew. We've been getting ready all week, been covering all the things. We got the practices, the players checked in. We'll be over at the hotel, the media hotel there on tomorrow for the coaches presser. Then we're going to be covering the Bucs and the Saints game. Of course, you'll see Peter, hopefully me checking in with him on Sunday, New Year's Eve, as we play those New Orleans Saints to lock up that NFC South title. Still realizing we play the Panthers next week in the very last game of the year. So please, if y'all got comments. But the reason why I talk about it, Jayden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, the LSU quarterback, and of course the Florida State Seminoles. And we saw Mad Dog there on ESPN, the rant he had about all these Florida State Seminole players that are opting out, weren't included as the only undefeated team included in those playoffs for a chance at the national championship. And of course, the presser just broke on ESPN. It says the Florida State, and they say who. I didn't really get a chance to read it, but they say if they're still the only undefeated team as these bowls shake. Oh, Jim Sutton. Let me get you up here, Jim. First comment of the day, brother. What's up, Ray? What's up, Jim? I hope you had a good Christmas. I hope you're having a good holiday season. I hit Peter Blake this morning, and I'm like, I got to get something off my chest. It's Baker Mayfield. It's the Buccaneers. It's what you've expected from this team and how what's the word I'm looking for? How underanalyzed they were by the national media, being that they were going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And is Caleb Williams even the number one player anymore off the board? Stay tuned. We'll get there in a couple of months after we get through these bowl games. But the fact of the matter is, all these with the transfer portal, Bo Nix, of course, Penix from Tampa, and of course your Heisman Trophy winner in Jayden Daniels. All three were transfer portal products. All three were in their second year at their new school. All three of them were up for the Heisman, and all three of them will be in the draft in 2024. You're going to have to expect that this is the way this ball is going to roll from now on with regard to, as we get away from all the controversies while I was growing up, and I'm sure a lot of you guys and girls out there as you were growing up, how the games were seeded for the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, all these games and how it would shake out depending on which teams were up there and which bowls they were invited. Pelican just dove in for some food. Which teams would be up there. And the controversy here in 2023, obviously, was the injury, Florida State injury, and that kid's coming back, but the injury and the quarterback, and then now the second stringer op, he's transferring. He's a transfer portal, so now they're going to a third string. I would pose it still with the dogs that Florida State had and the season that they had, unlike a TCU in 2022, or maybe even a Cincinnati Bearcats in 2022. I mean, or 2021. Of course, when Fickell beat Brian Kelly's Notre Dame Irish to stay undefeated that year and puts the Cincinnati Bearcats up there in the playoffs for the 2021 college football playoffs. Of course, now he's the coach of the Wisconsin Badgers, facing off against Kelly's Notre Dame Fighting Irish, not Notre Dame's Kelly's LSU Tigers right here at the ReliaQuest Bowl on Monday, and that's going to be an exciting game. But as these teams, no matter what you do, as all of these bowl sitters or these whoever they're getting paid to go and look at all the, okay, these teams are undefeated, the strength of schedule, who do they play, who do they got? One of the biggest things you're going to have to do, or do you? Bucks raising Bolt says, "Go Bucks!" Oh man, go Bucks! I'll tell you what. I'll get back to the college thing in a minute. My discombobulated brain. Also want to do a special shout out. Thank you, Bucks raising Bolts. There's a little place in Seminole, a little family-owned place, and I was in a quandary. My wife and I were running late for a holiday party actually about 8 days ago. We're running late for a holiday party, and we were going. We were invited to it. It was kind of like a housewarming / holiday party, and we're like, okay, what do we get? The bottle of wine, it's used. What do we do? Do they like Chardonnay? Do they like, what kind of wine do they want? What kind of wine would we want to drink? If they don't like it, we can pop it. So we thought, let's get something practical that also goes along with a housewarming gift. And this person, with him and his beautiful fiance, actually has one of those, has a legalized card, has a medical card here in Florida. So like, let's get him something, even if it isn't being a joke. Get him something that kind of goes along those lines, something he might use, something he might think is funny, something may end up sitting in a box, get donated or given to another friend or regifted, but at the same time was a nice thought on that party night. Eric Hartnett says, "Hi, Ray." Hi, Eric, brother. Always good to see you. Jim says, "I don't know about," let me get Jim. Jim's comment got a good one in here. "I don't know about college football. I'm an FSU fan, and it's not right what happens to them." And Jim, I get that. And we talked about the precedent that bowl committee was setting, or the playoff committee. Playoffs, I got to say, it's literally a contractual thing, as they seat the Florida State Seminoles at number 5 to play against the Georgia Bulldogs, which is still a great game. I pose one of the better games besides the ReliaQuest Bowl. I can't help it. I'm a little impartial. But now that they said we did it because of the injury to Travis, we did it because they don't have their top quarterback. They may not have their second quarterback, who at the time was in a concussion protocol. Of course, now Stone, I want to say it's, God, I wish I had his name. I apologize for not having it, Florida State fans, but now he's in the transfer portal. If that's the way you're going to be seeing these games, then in the future, teams are going to have to hustle through the entire season. You got to worry about strength of schedule. You got to play your conference games. You got to get to the end there. But I think that this bowl committee or this playoffs committee is going to constantly, every year, year in and year out, look at who's going in the transfer portal. Is there a possible injury to the quarterback? Because I mean, Travis Jordan, his injury. Jordan Travis. Well, his injury was real. Yeah, it's going to drive me crazy. Help me out here, Jim. It's Jordan Travis, right? The quarterback in Florida State. His injury was obvious, first and foremost. One of the biggest disappointments of the year for not just Florida State Seminole fans, but all college football fans. Because I think people think I'm tongue in cheek when I say I go with Gators, I go with the Canes, I go with the USF Bulls first and foremost now. But I still like the Seminoles. Still think about the historical games over the years. I saw the Jordan Travis. Yeah, thank you, Peter Blake. Peter's watching. So if I get cut, something, open up StreamYard today. Free StreamYard. Jim Sutton says FSU goes undefeated and not in the playoffs. And that's kind of what got me going there, is because when those college kids, they fight all year and they stay undefeated. In may have been a softer ACC schedule, but I still pose they still showed up when they had to. They struggled in a couple of games, but they still got to that undefeated place. And then you sit the ones in the top 4. Again, 3 of those 4 that would have been seated in there, or 2 of them at least, were transfer quarterbacks second year in. That's going to have to become a narrative every year from here on out. Of course, let me go ahead. My boy Peter Blake, the producer, says Jordan Travis. Yeah, the quarterback for FSU got injured. I saw the writing on the wall. Again, I'm not a soothsayer, I did sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. I was down at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill down there on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the Edge District of St. Petersburg that day for the bowl championship weekend. And I was there when it was late in the second quarter, and Bama gets the lead over Georgia. So I started posing it because it didn't take. I don't, even though I love all Florida teams, I'm not fervent enough, and I'm not saying I'm not. I love them. I love ball, but I'm not fervent. I don't get the goggles except for the Bucks. I've been accused of that a lot. The goggles come down. I try to look at things realistically, try to look at where the flags are pointing. And by the way, I see a tide coming in here under the Treasure Island Bridge out here in Treasure Island at the world famous Krabby's on the Pass. Try to see what's trending. And to me, what was trending, and it's not just I could play the legalized gambling card. I can play what gets better. What the television networks at ESPN's Pro SEC, not so much Pro AC. We can do all that. But at the end of the day, if you're seeding your teams for your college, and next year it expands to 12, you're seeding your teams based on who's injured, who's going into transfer portal. Maybe if you just saw last night, even with a Caleb Williams, what if USC would have been one of those teams? And of course, the kid Moss last night throws 6 touchdowns, the first quarterback in the history of college football. Hope I'm staying centered here, to throw 6 touchdowns and never having thrown 6 in his entire career. Of course, Caleb Williams opted out. It is an opt out. I guess that's the cleanest. He opted not to play. He was still there. You show him celebrating after the game. The kid comes in there and burns the Louisville Cardinals defense. 2 different teams. Both of them had a bit of an off year. Throws 6 touchdowns. But think about it. What if USC would have been undefeated coming down the stretch? Okay. They're playing in the Rose Bowl or what have you. They're playing, and all of a sudden, or 2-3 weeks before the season ends, Caleb Williams goes down with an injury. God forbid. I know I knock on fake wood here. No, this is actually real wood down here. Krabby's on the Pass would have nothing less. Now all of a sudden, a team like USC under Lincoln Riley, they're suddenly back to number 5 or 6, possibly undefeated, playing against a Georgia or playing against a Florida State on the outside looking in. And then the guys go in against whoever they're playing. I'm not saying it have the same results, but he goes in and throws 6 touchdowns. And now you're thinking you punished an entire team because of one player, because of a quarterback. And of course, we know quarterback is a very integral and important part of a team. Bucks raising bolts. Got news update with Devin White healthy, good to go for the rest of the year. Okay, so I'm all over the place. If you got to point back to something else, y'all want to comment, please, we'll go back there. But with Devin White, and we talked about this in the pregame again. Thanks to Scott. Scott, thanks to the What the Buck tailgate, thanks to Bucks Life, the pre-show that Peter and I were able to do out there, literally on Himes Avenue and What the Buck Boulevard or Tampa Bay Boulevard over there at Raymond James last week before the game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there was some people coming up, and I get it, because when the Bucks are doing something special, which is what they were doing on 3 games in a row, trying to, keep it hot, working toward the playoffs. And then Devin White, and he gets a healthy scratch. And if Coach Bowles comes out and says he said it was his foot, he wasn't ready to go. Devin comes out on Tuesday and says it was my foot, I wasn't ready to go. A lot of Bucks fans were still, not a lot of Bucks fans, but there were a lot of fans. Tim Haynes, what's up, Ray? Tim, what's up? What's up, brother? I hope you had a great Christmas and we're having a good holiday. A lot of people are like, no, Devin White, don't even let him dress the rest of the year. Just kick him to the side. He's not going to get $100 million here in Tampa Bay next year. I don't think that's a contentious point with any of us. But I said right then that it would behoove you to not have the guy. He's wearing a C on his chest because it's not because what he did in 2020, although he was one of the most phenomenal along with Winfield and the rest of the defense. But what Devin White did versus those New Orleans Saints at New Orleans against Drew Brees and the Saints that season, what he has done, what he has shown, his flashes of brightness have been bright. His moments of his lapses have been also kind of bright. I think it was apropos that he gets burned on for his coverage skills, but then he gets that big interception on that first turnover versus those Jacksonville Jaguars last weekend. I think that was, some things happen for a reason. I think if you read between the lines, and I think that, Devin White being a healthy player for the rest of this team. And of course, now he's starting and now he's getting back into where he's supposed to. And it's not against KJ Britt. You're talking about also having depth there, a different kind of linebacker, but still locking down and doing his assignments and playing Buck ball. Yeah, I said it, Buck ball, Bucks defensive ball here in Tampa Bay. Having a healthy Devin White, that's just icing on the cake. That really is. Pardon my French, but let me just make sure I got a comment. Oh, yeah, I'm ready for this. Oh, I got more comments. Wait a minute. They're coming in. They are coming in. Jim Sutton says, "Are you ready for this Sunday?" Oh, I was so ready, especially on Christmas morning when I opened my gifts. I'm under the tree. I'm searching for the Red Ryder rocket. No, shoot your eye out. Searching for my rifle, and my all the presents were open. It was a great Christmas. I hope you all had a great Christmas. And my wife, she all of a sudden, without me knowing, she sends my son and I a text at the same time, and there were tickets for Sunday's game versus the Saints. And I went to the Jacksonville Jaguars game last week, and of course, thanks again to Scott and everyone at Bucks Life, and we had such a great time, great seats. But this will be the, and I can't believe that I'm saying this. I'm so, because covering Bucks game day shows, we're always live because it'd be so easy, low hanging fruit to go from the stadium, and we do. And Peter Blake and JP are locking it down with your post game coverage, and we're even locking it down with some pregame. But for 4 or 5 years there, we were doing the pre halftime and post game show from Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. Then we did it from the deck, and then I've done it from Irish 31 and from all kinds of places because we're bringing the party to you because you guys are bringing the show to us. It's what this is about. Rob, let me get to you. So this is the first game since 2007 that I've went to two home games in a row. Not even where they played at home, on the road, and home, just 2 games in a row, period. And of course, with a chance to lock up the division for that third consecutive year. I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. By the way, I've had a lot of y'all ask about the beard. I know it looks terrible. Let me get to the comments. I'll explain the beard in a second. Started with November and it just hasn't stopped. Bucks, Braves, Bolts. Do you want to know something funny saying rest Devin White before season's over? Well, get that dub on Sunday, get that locked in from that. Now all of a sudden the Bucks have that locked in. We're seated and slotted at number 4. We're just waiting to see if it's the Cowboys or the Eagles or whomever. Bring those San Francisco 49ers. And I'm not just saying that because these Ravens beat them so handily this last week. I've been saying this all season. We said it last season. I think you all know this, that if this Buccaneers team has a scantling of an offense to go along with the dogs on this defense. Oh my gosh, Todd Bowles, defensive-minded coach. But if you've got an offense to limit the number of opportunities the opposing team's offenses have to see what works against you, also gives your offense a chance to get a little bit of, I'll use scantling again, a scantling of a lead. I think we've seen what can happen. Lots of trouble for the opposing team that's playing against the Buccaneers. I'm not worried about who comes here, who would come here in a week 1, being that the 4th seed and locking up a division title would mean getting to host a game. I'm not even worried about that. Everyone started, it could be didn't bounce out by the Cowboys last year after owning them on the 2 season openers for years in a row, playing on the road. It hurt a little bit, but I mean, so yeah, resting White for Devin, rest a lot of the players before that. But I also pose, and I'm going to go do a shout out to my guys on Pardon My Take, of course, Big Cat and PFT. You want to rest players, so you want to see substitutional resting. Let's say hypothetically we get the victory on Sunday, we're locked in, it's over. The Panthers, we still going to, and they're still the Panthers. Situational substituting to get guys in, get guys out, get a couple of guys a little bit more activity before the postseason would be a great thing. But I don't think this Buccaneers team, after struggling through the center of the season, I don't think they're in a place where they can sit, you're going to sit all 45 guys or 53 guys. You're going to sit and bring in the entire practice squad and just play on your laurels. I think it would behoove this team to do that, because the special thing that the Bucks seem to have going right now has been building, and Baker's dancing, and the offense is getting off, and the defense is eating, and everybody's celebrating, the coaching staff. It's great times. And I'll tell you what, let me get to the comments because I apologize. I can go on and on about this. Rob Thompson says, "You're at Hamlin's Landing." No, close. I'm actually at Johns Pass, over just across the way from the Johns Pass boardwalk, and that is the Treasure Island Bridge, or Johns Pass Bridge, which connects Madeira Beach to Treasure Island. It's just close to the house. I can always come down here and depend on the staff at Krabby's on the Pass. Hashtag highlight 10-4 Peter, appreciate it. Jim Sutton says, "I'm happy that you had a good Christmas." Jim, I did. I had a good Christmas because Christmas Eve was at, watching Santa Claus, jamming to Metallica over on the pirate ship. Had a chance. I'll tell you what, Scott Bradford backed me up on this. My son Tristan was walking. We're walking in the stadium. We get there just in time. And we come around, we walk up, of course, north end zone. We come around up through the gates. We're walking up, having a great time. Tampa Bay, just having a good time. We come walking out, and all of a sudden we realize that both jumbotrons have Mike Allstott. We hear the choo-choo, we hear the train whistles, and we see the Allstott highlights. Which I'm telling you what, it don't matter what you're getting up for. If you can't watch Mike Allstott highlights and get up for anything, then you just ain't got no get up or get up. And we're watching, we're like, oh my God, it's an Allstott montage. And all of a sudden now imagine we're coming up from the south or the northeast side, and we're coming up from behind the pirate ship. All of a sudden, we look right up on the pirate ship, the back of it, and there's Mike. There's Mike holding a pirate sword. And it was a surreal moment. I hope Scott and I hope my son Tristan can agree with me on this. It was a surreal moment because right then the smoke came up, and then we heard the stadium introduction from, ladies and gentlemen, a legend, Mike Allston. I'm not sure he said legend, but you know he is. And he goes, he looked right at us with the pirate sword. He put it up. He was so, and he turned around. He walked to the front of the ship carrying that pirate. And I'm telling you what, you can ring your bell. Rocky Balboa at the opening of Lincoln Financial. You can have the the lighthouse there in New England. You could do the 12th man, whatever, in Seattle. You can bang a gong, get it on, bang a gong. That moment, that pirate ship, Mike turning around, walking out there, and then go ahead and throw it up again. Halftime, Dexter Jackson, Super Bowl 37 MVP on the ship. And just had a great time. It was so surreal, but it was so awesome. So yeah, that was part of what made that a great Christmas, Jim. Appreciate the comment. Ben Cornett, by the way, I'm all in for Tom Hanks, Captain Phillips look there. Go Ray. Okay, so yeah, hold on. Let me get Wilson. Come over here. It's not Captain Phillips. It's actually Castaway. It started out as Movember, right? Every year we do this in recognition of different causes, cancers, supporting cancer fighting causes, and we do it where donations are made, and people that usually don't grow beards grow them. And I and my wife, she says, and I still have that homeless look going. Although finally, I think letting it grow this long, I finally got a good shaver for Christmas. So I'm gonna be tightening this thing up. Although I got a guy tightening it up for me. And don't forget, the November ends, and then in December, the Bucks should start winning games. So now it's like, okay, it started off as a Movember beard. Now it feels like a playoff beard. Playoffs, I did it again. And, I'm not an NHL player, but I did sleep at that Holiday Inn last night that I talk about not being an analyst of college football. But yeah, it feels like that this is just, and the only thing that keeps me going is I got that a lot of gray right here, which Ben, by the way, you happen to be the comment on here talking about what's the word I'm looking for? What is it? Anyway, you got to look. But yeah, I'm nowhere near as gray as Mr. Peter Blake, my guy. So, Peter looks great with his beard. If I looked as gray as Peter and not as good looking as Peter, I'd have to shave this thing off in a minute. My sister saw me yesterday for the first time. She said, "You've got too skinny of a face for this thick beard." Stay tuned. We're playing till February, and this thing's going to stick around for a minute. Bucks Raising Bolt says, hope Bucks not getting in trouble to rest Devin White. That report came out. That's Devin White, not that Devin White's not hurt. Again, you're going to see him. I don't think that we don't know the full story. We knew going into the season, Devin White. We knew in 2018, we knew Devin White was working on that second contract. We knew he was going to play like that. And the kid's heart is like, it's like Secretariat's heart. It's huge. He wears it right on that sleeve, and we've known that since he rode the horse with the Lombardi after winning the Super Bowl. And we know Devin White, the kind of character that guy has. His buns were a little burnt going into this season. Of course, the national media, because they were already sure that the Bucks were going to be 2-15 and be in a Caleb Williams sweepstakes. They tried to play that card. They tried to play the Mike Evans wants to get paid, card. And of course, we see what's going on between him and Baker. A renaissance of a Buccaneers offense we didn't see in 2022, by the way. No offense, Tom, wherever you are. But the narrative. So they're going to look for narratives like that. I don't think the full story's out on Devin. We know that this guy was hurt. And we understood that whatever happened for him to sit in the healthy rest, the way it happened as late as it did, and even the NFL was investigating because these days with legalized gambling, even before then with the injury reports and stuff, you got to investigate things like that. But I believe there was more to it than that. The same time, I see that when that kid straps him up and laces him up and hits between the lines out there on Sundays or whenever the Bucks will be playing, I think that guy brings it 100%. So if he's sitting, we're worried, is it because he's this or because he's that, or is it because KJ needs more experience? Is Devin White going to be a Buck in 2024? Let's take him one game at a time, because just like everything else, you guys, hope you realize when I always say it's about the journey, even as much so as about the destination. It's always going to be where you were when the Bucks beat Detroit to get back to the playoffs, back in closing down the big sombrero. It's always going to be who you were sitting next to or celebrating with when you watched them win their first championship in 2003 Super Bowl 37 over those Raiders. Where were you when the 2020 Buccaneers, still in the middle of a pandemic, won their second team championship? Those are now the two Super Bowls. And the playoff game, there was playoffs. Those are obviously toward the end of the seasons. Those are big moments, but those are all parts of the journey. I don't think of a journey. Every coach talks about each year is a new journey. We got new people in the place. We got a new team. We're going for our destiny. I think that as Bucks fans, our journey isn't just July to the end of the season or till when we're bounced out or mathematically eliminated, which we haven't had to use that term in a while. Our journey is over the course of years. It spans decades. It really does. And I think that so from that standpoint, sometimes we have to take a step back and go, okay, there's a lot of noise here. A lot of people trying to tell us why the Bucks are going to not have or going to have success and why all of a sudden they're great. By the way, isn't Baker Mayfield the comeback player of the year? Everybody's like, well, even the moment DeMar stepped, that was the thing. A lot of light put on it, a lot of great things. A lot of things went right, and we want to see that across all life. And we're dealing with mortality and real life and death things here. He's a backup player. He's been on. He's been in, and not knocking him down. The guy's still dogging it in National Football League, not putting down DeMar. He's had his guys, the Good Morning Football crew there. I think it was Kyle Brandt this morning. Said he's had his run, and it continues to be. It will always historically be a great thing. And it's something we may see again as fans of all sports, but especially of professional football. But you're talking about comeback player of the year. You're talking about, you're talking about a Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns. You're talking about, to me, a Baker Mayfield should be number one Vegas odd right now because of what he's done. Thrown away by 4 teams over a 14-month period. Brought down to try to save Matt Rule's job, screwed on that, brought in Bradford. He gets injured and ran out of Cleveland, which the irony there is that they had to go and get a 73-year-old Joe Flacco off of the couch to come in because they went through 3 quarterbacks or 4 quarterbacks in 2023, and now he's having that success. And I think y'all knew that the moment the Cleveland Browns decided to go after Deshaun Watson and let Baker Mayfield walk, that was so stupid. What was he thinking? What was the owner thinking there? What are you trying to do? You're going to trade away 17 first and second round picks and give him a $230 million largest contract, guaranteed contract in the history of football to one Deshaun Watson. He'd have gotten through everything. It would have. Oh, did I almost say that I had a happy ending in the end? I don't want to do that. That's just so low hanging fruit. But I think I missed a comment back here. Let me go back here because this was a good one. Todd Bowles may have his job. Okay, Ralph Williams. Todd Bowles may have saved his job. There are still 2 games to go. Have a happy New Year. And Ralph, I hope, let me stay center. I get it with today's NFL. You got 1 season. And then you bring a Frank Reich in and you try to get him working there with Bryce Young, and he's fired 8 games in. And so there's so many things in the social media, players' egos to satisfy, huge contracts, salary caps. I get all that. And I was saying it with you guys and girls when I still wanted to, because I was seeing since week 2 versus Chicago. I saw it with the victory there in Minnesota week 1. I saw the team playing and getting behind a Todd Bowles. Even in losses, we still saw players owning up to the mistakes in the locker room and not, and trying to analyze, let's get better, let's learn from this, let's get better next week. I saw a team, but I would be remiss, Ralph, if I didn't tell you that I too was thinking, okay, I guess this is just because of today's National Football League. Arthur Smith has got to be out there in Atlanta, right? And depending on what happens with the Saints versus the Bucks this week, and maybe with the Falcons in the last 2 weeks here, because it could get crazy. Maybe Dennis Allen's still got a job. And of course, they're going to be finding a new coach there in Carolina. So you're talking about a division that may possibly 3 of the 4 coaches, and almost for a minute there, 4 coaches could all possibly be fired. So it's a complete rebuild. And even the NFC least of 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, they didn't go through a complete rebuild. They were searching. The Giants were searching for a coach. And of course, Dallas stick with McCarthy, but then they get rid of, Kellen Moore. They're trying to, so there's all these things going on, but I don't think, honestly, I think I'm going on a limb here to say in the history of the National Football League, there's never been a year where all the coaches in all the teams in a division were fired the same year. So you'd be like, all right, go, that was a gun. It wasn't but you go and see which team builds the fastest. The thing is, what Jason Light's been doing with your Buccaneers is going back to 2019 when Bruce Arians comes in here and Byron Leftwich, and they bring in Larry Foote and they bring in all the dogs. And it's like, okay, we got James is going to fix him. He doesn't fix. What's behind door number 2? It's Tom Brady. Tom comes here because he sees the dogs that are here. Now you've got in 2023, you've got Luka Decky, you've got Hainsey, you got Cody Mauch, you got, you got Tristan moves to left tackle. So many things that are going right for this team consistently. I really felt guilty that the reason why I was going to fire a head coach Why the offense was struggling to learn, and I'll cover that in a minute, was just because he stands on a sideline like this and doesn't get too emotional. He does have an issue sometimes with timeouts. Sometimes it seems like there was a disconnect, especially last season, between what the offense was trying to do and what the defense was wanting to do, or vice versa. But I would be remiss again if I didn't lie to you. If I would be remiss in lying to you to say that I too wasn't on that bandwagon this year, that this was going to possibly be Todd Bowles' team, because that's the way today's National Football League ends. I don't think the Glazers have shown a penchant to get rid of coaches too soon. Got the boats coming through John's Pass here, going out for a little fit. Yep, got the fishing rubbers on there, going out, and see if I get in the wave. Crabs on the pass out here at John's Pass. Richard Williamson, and I go all through the coaches. There was a time when Hugh Culverhouse was just firing whoever and bringing whoever in, Grits Blitz and Lehman Bennett, because John McGay's gone because they don't re-sign Doug Williamson, new contract. So many bad mistakes being made, but you're not happening with these Buccaneers since 2014, when Jason Light became general manager and they draft Mike Evans as their first round pick in the Jason Light era. You don't see bad decisions being made. You see great decisions being made, and it's not that whoever's in the head coach's position, as we saw as we've seen over the years, you still have to have a good dog running the show. But if you've got a dog that's got the respect of the locker room, keeping a consistency. So yeah, I think that Coach Bowles hasn't done as much to save his job there, Ralph. Although he has saved his job, and he will be your coach moving forward. I'm so happy for that. I think it more has to do with Dave Canales and his offense, and the fact that all the guys on that side are suddenly Baker is utilizing his strengths as the arm. You guys and girls know you're still thinking. You're still thinking Tom Brady with a weak out to the right flat and somebody returning it for a pick six. There's going to be a defensive dog that's going to read something wrong or right and going to take a jump on it, and come running up there and possibly get that interception. So we'd like to see him pushing it downfield and utilizing that running game. But the fact that Baker's now seeing the field in his 17th offense in the last 6 years, but sees the field and is utilizing his assets with all the talent he has around him, and a Cade on and a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin and Payne Durham, just the dogs that we have here, and running these little skill sets. And the thing I like that's most beautiful about this offense is it's not that they're wide open, no risk it, no biscuit, throw it downfield, but they're not a conservative offense, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They're letting Dave Canales in this offense, as they're starting to gain more of the respect of Todd Bowles, and they're starting to gain more of respect of the entire team. They're able to open up little things here and there. And on the one hand, the Buccaneers are putting down plays and putting down offense on video that opposing defenses are going to have to study for. But on the other hand, the other defenses also don't even know what they haven't seen yet out of this Dave Canales and this Buccaneers 2023 offense. As a Bucs fan, probably the most exciting things about this entire season so far. Ben Cornett says, oh, wait, I think I already read this one. I appreciate. Oh, okay. Going backwards. Alan Mitchell says John's Pass. Yes, 100% Alan. There was one in here from, I think it was, right here, Rob Thompson. I want to get back to the Ray Kennedy. I hope to see you Sunday at the What the Buck tailgate party. Brother, you're going to see me coming by. You know you are. I'll tell you what, not just what Cheryl and the crew and what they do in raising monies, but taking all of the Bucs fans and putting us, and even opposing teams fans, because that's what it's about, right? You mix it up, you talk, why is my team going to beat your team? Why could your team possibly beat my team? You're also a Florida team. We saw last week with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's going to be a little tougher this week with the Hoodats, because they come in pretty strong, but not only bring us together for fantastic music, food, drink, party, right there at the stadium. You literally could not be partying any closer to the gate than you are right there at the What the Buck tailgate on the corner of Himes there and What the Buck Boulevard, or Tampa Bay, which is that street that runs. Of course, you guys and girls that go to the Bulls games, that's where the band comes marching in, and that's where the players get off the buses and march right up. That's the last street we've always crossed before we hit the Tampa Stadium, the Big Sombrero, and Raymond James Stadium. What the Buck right there on the east side of Himes, just next to the stadium. Can't be anywhere closer to the stadium. So, Rob, I appreciate it. Is that an official invite? Because, yeah, I'll be there. Let me get back to the Jim Sutton says, I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers are putting it together at the right time. We're on a roll, so let them keep winning. Yeah. Again, I don't think that they're not at the narrative with the Niners, and I think we've seen that where, man, look at that tide coming through, how strong it is. I don't think they're at that place where they can afford to just, we're going to, okay, if they lock the division up, we're going to rest everyone against the Panthers and just, go. I mean, substitutional, even kind of like with the Bucks in 2015 when we were beating the Falcons, and then we sat everybody immediately, lost a game, and got that first overall pick in Jameis Winston. Although situation's a little different this time. Tim Witherspoon says, "Don't sit anyone. Keep building momentum. 100%. Let these dogs, let them eat, and they're not playing with their food. Let them eat and keep that momentum rolling." I 100% agree. Bucks Rays and Bolts says 45 says go live. Rob Thompson says at followers. Rob, thank you. Peter Blake says, what are you watching? What you're watching is a Cup of Raid in the PHB Studio Network, brother. You know that 100%. And again, got you guys covered for the ReliaQuest Bowl this week. Stay tuned. I'm so excited. Not just, I mean, it's my fifth, it's my fourth, no, my fifth ReliaQuest Bowl or bowl coverage. Thanks again to Amped Up Sports and Leo Haggerty. A lot of it this year, Tristan playing high school football and then covering the Bulls for you like we've been doing with the PHB Studios and the Sports Web. And then it rolls into the ReliaQuest Bowl now between LSU and Wisconsin Badgers. I wonder if Big Cat from Pardon My Take is going to be down, or big Badgers fan. Said the Badgers would have success this year. All that coming to fruition in a year the Bucks were supposed to be 2-15 and being a number one draft pick. Football still here in Tampa Bay, or should I say Champa Bay, still very, very relevant here. The Bulls pull not big upset, but a big victory last week down there in Boca Raton Bowl. Even Appalachia State gets that hard-fought victory 2 weeks ago on a Saturday in the Rain Bowl. So yeah, keep it here. Keep it with us. We got you covered. More importantly, you guys got us covered with these awesome comments. Rob Thompson says, it's nice seeing everyone positive again. Everyone was so down during a losing streak. It was driving me crazy. And, a lot of that is us, the media. It's our pops on our phones. It's our, Facebook, our socials, our X, or wherever you're getting it from, or Instagram, or that's the reason why I think so many people love TikToks, because TikToks just keep it pretty hot, pretty light. We're getting pounded with how we're supposed to be this and we're supposed to be that. And we're not getting the coverage. And think about this, Rob. Not only is it really great that everyone's back to positive again, but even with Tom Brady only here for 3 years and the glare of the sun that Brad brought and the victory and the championship and the success now going for a third consecutive NFC South title, I don't think anybody foresaw a team that could stay this consistent, except for me. I did see it. I saw what this defense means. I see the number of dogs that we still have on this team still today. I see how Jason Light builds this teams up front, winning the front line on the offense and defensive side of the ball. A great front end makes up for a weak back end, although buried lead, the Buccaneers seem to have both right now. Got some music coming from over at John's Passover. It sounds like it's coming from, what do we have over there? Maybe they have some kind of live. Rays Bucks Bolts says, hell yes. Appreciate you there. Jim Sutton says, now they're saying that Baker Mayfield, what's the right pick? Now he's the reason we turn it around right now. What do you think, Ray? The offense. The offense is the reason why you turn it around. I think, Jim, if I didn't know any better, I think you're tricking me. And I'll tell you why. Let me just give it to you this. Baker is what Baker's doing here with the chutzpah. I think I'll go back, and I was thinking about this really hard this week. I'll go back to 2018. I'll go back to Texas Tech. Then he transfers to Lincoln Riley out there to Oklahoma. Walk on at Texas Tech, basically walks on Oklahoma ball, although they knew what they were getting when the time he was there. Goes number 1 overall to the Cleveland Browns. This kid brings a game. For me, it was still, and I know you guys and girls are going to, please agree with me here, comment. And Baker still went number 1 overall, but I think there were a lot of people that thought, is Baker just a rich man or a poor man's Johnny Manziel? And I say that because, again, they were talking on Pardon My Take. If you haven't caught this week's show, it was from Monday. It's the, fastest 2 minutes. And they were talking about Mike. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was actually, they were talking about this, but for me, it was Sal Palantonio talking with Peter Blake and JP Peterson on a JP Peterson show yesterday. And I love the fact that, was this a dream? Because in my dream, I talked to Sal Palantonio last night. I don't know why, but I'm listening to it. And he's talking about the fact that, Mike Evans being here in 2024, a little bit of a negativity, but he's talking about that Mike Evans is 100% first ballot Hall of Famer. They got to keep him here. He should be a lifetime. He's already said he wants to be a lifetime Buccaneer. And 100%, there's probably 15 to 20 teams that want to go after this dog and pay him top money. Jason Light's got to figure that out. But he put Johnny Manziel in the first round. And then Johnny Football lost his stuff. And, of course, that went down here. Last thing we saw of him was he was there in Memphis eating a hot dog in the end zone on a stool, whatever that was about, when he wasn't playing in that game for the XFL, was it? Maybe it was a USFL. No, it doesn't matter. And so some of that was a little bit rubbed off on Baker. He's got a big game, he's got cojones. Stuff. No, this guy's got an arm and he's got game. And the reason why Baker is the driving point behind this offensive success, but not the sole driving point, is I caught Dave Canales in an interview with Casey Phillips, of course, on the Buccaneers Coaches Show there on WDAE. Shout out to the guys, shout out to the crew there at WDAE 620 AM and 95.3 FM, although the AM is better because it takes me back to the old BUCCA and Al Ford and Sky Patrol and how that was going over to Howard Frankenstein, which is what they used to call the Howard Franklin. Used to be backed up on coming over from St. Pete way before the hump. It would take us about an hour and a half to get over the bridge. If you didn't get over early enough, of course, we went to 9 a.m. mass and then we rush over, went in and did our Dominuses, Ominuses, and got over and got the grill started because the Buccaneers played predominantly at 1 o'clock. And that's another story we'll go into another day, but it takes me back. But Casey Phillips interviewing Dave Canales. And we've seen some of Coach Canales' posts. We know that he's a family man. We know that this guy, we see him on the sidelines. We know that this guy is just everything you see is everything you get with him. And you wonder what Jason Light and Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers organization saw in him to give this first-time play caller, first offensive coordinator job when you're talking about Coach Bowles. And there was a lot of that negativity this season was, well, the Bucs couldn't find an offensive coordinator, so they went with their 17th interview. And I know there was some dogs out there they spoke with. There was some dogs that I was like, hey, that would be interesting, and that would be interesting, not knowing yet what a Dave Canales would be once they signed him. But one of those things during that negativity was Coach Bowles got an offensive coordinator who's like 12 years old. No, if you listen to, and I'll challenge you guys and girls this, go, it's on the iHeartRadio. This is for you, Mike Mamone. Love what you guys are doing, but it's on the iHeartRadio. Go and pull that up. Casey Phillips, the Coaches Show from Tuesday. And listen to Dave Canales. Of course, Coach Bowles is first, but listen to Dave Canales and how she lets him just go on. He expounds on how he believes in remembering all the chances he got and giving his first chances and his heart and hand and his heartfelt way he coaches the team. Now, you put that with, it took the guys 12 weeks to learn, similar to exactly how it took Tom and the boys back in 2020 to learn an offense that had already been here for 2 years. So that even goes, so you got the greatest of all time during COVID, locked at Berkeley Prep. They're roasting marshmallows, learning an offense, can't go home to their families even because everybody's testing and getting swabbed daily. I don't know if that looked right. Maybe, we went up in views, so I guess it looked good. So the algorithm said go with it. Dave Canales and the hat and hand offensive coordinator, and then now you put it with a seventh year Baker Mayfield that's cojones, the size of, big brass cojones, who's a great quarterback, but now the entire team's learning an offense, and you circle it back to the hat and hand offensive coordinator, and you also team that with a defensive-minded coach in Todd Bowles, who, again, still going to get one of these moments. And I don't know what you want to see. I mean, we used to want to see Bruce Arians turning red and yelling at somebody, or we would go back and look. I'm trying to think of the last five. Sam Weish, Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy didn't have to do. Tony Dungy, it was the disappointment, right? The dad disappointment. The players look, and Coach Dungy would be like, and he'd walk away. And it wasn't that he was ignoring his players, but he had Monty Kiffin, he had Rich Bisaccia, he had a slew of coordinators who, by the way, happened to end up becoming great football coaches themselves in the National Football League. With this Todd Bowles offense or Todd Bowles team, you got an offense finding their wheels at the right time with a quarterback that's getting his retribution. Again, I think that he's putting up that argument for the comeback player of the year. I really, Buccaneer. Okay, so I just came up with my no, Christmas is already passed. Can't call it a Christmas present. My resolution is that the Bucs will be there in Vegas. They'll be having the NFL honors, getting ready to play in that Roomba the next day, and they'll bring it up for comeback player of the year and DeMar, and they'll talk about Flacco and whomever, maybe Christian McCaffrey, because he came back and had a pretty good year with the 49ers, although I think it would have been last season. It kind of was. And your winner is Baker Mayfield, and they go to the team hotel because, of course, Baker's locked down with the guys getting ready for the Super Bowl the next day or 2 days later, so he's not at the honors that night. Or maybe he does make a Travis Kelce special show up. That would be a great dream. They're getting hot at the right time. Baker's hot at the right time, but it's been more of a team. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so satisfying, Jim, is it hasn't just been Baker. It's been the whole team. We've watched this entire offense start to pull themselves out of the abyss and the offensive line gelling. Who didn't see the lockdown with Luka Decky talking this weekend, doing his water boy impersonations out there last week versus Jacksonville, and not love that? Love the fact that Luka Decky went from who's this guy? We're moving his offense around because Jensen was injured and now he's injured again this year, and you got Hainsey and we're bringing in Mock and this and all that. Who's this guy? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this guy's a dog. Oh, that's right. Jason Light builds on the offense and defensive lines. Like Kainsey and Vita Vea and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka doing good on kick coverage. Don't want to hear about Joe right now. I still think that guy's got some game. Baker should MVP, most valuable player, 100%. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish. I think that MVP is probably Lamar Jackson's, just because he's having literally a Jaden Daniels Heisman type season, but he's having Lamar Jackson's season like he had when he won that MVP, or the MVP his rookie season. So, Baker MVP, okay. Peter Blake says it's a cup of Ray on the PHP Studio Network. Peter, thank you so much for helping me out today. Todd Bowles' job is safe if they do make the playoffs. Todd Bowles' job is safe if they don't make the playoffs. But I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just saying it's starting to get warmer out here. I thought it was a cold front that pushed through here. Again, thanks to the staff out here at Krabby's on the world famous Krabby's on the Pass with the world's longest waterfront bar. As it's starting to dry out, people are starting to come out to these tables and enjoy this beautiful view of the Gulf of Mexico. And turn this way and you have the Intercoastal. And lock it down, getting some great food, some great libations, and having a good time here at Krabby's. Always packed down here, but make sure you call ahead if it's during a busy time. Jim Sutton says, stop with getting rid of Bowles. The coaches is good. Coaching is good. We're winning, geniuses. 100%, Jim. Peter Blake says, hi, Mom. LOL. Yeah. Oh, Sandra Nagel, of course. Hi, Mom. Jim Sutton says, us fans need to be focused on beating the Saints. Yeah, because it isn't it just apropos. This year it was going to be the Falcons and Ritter, and of course they were going to find it with Pitts and Drake and all that. And isn't it just apropos that it's those Saints that they've always been, I think, since we've been in the South, and going back to when you guys and girls, who was the team the Buccaneers got their first victory against, and who was the head coach that was coaching that team in 1977 after an 0-26 start, that coach got fired a minute later? That's your trivia question. We need to be focused on beating those Saints. I want to go back to that because I want to finish that story from my people over at the Puff and Joint Smoke Shop there on Seminole Boulevard, just north of 86th Avenue. It's on the west side, family owned and operated. Had to stop, had to find a gift for my friend and his fiance. They were having a nice, housewarming. And we're like, hey, I got the perfect idea. It's on the way. We'll stop in. I've been there before. The people are good. It's right there, in this greater Seminole area. They helped me out. They told me some stuff that I was able to make a more educated purchase from my friend, who, by the way, loved his Christmas housewarming gift. And actually, I think his fiance did too. I think she partakes. She also has a card, I believe. I don't want to put that on her. But I just can't say enough about the Puff and Joint Smoke Shop there on Seminole Boulevard. I talked to Dad today. Their two sons, business majors, just believed in opening this business. They're doing a great job. They've got a great and beautiful, clean shop, great prices, great selection of whatever it is you're looking for. And yes, they hopefully do have plans for once this thing gets recreational and there's a lot more people in not only the greater Seminole area, but all around here in West Central and Tampa Bay that are looking for a place that they can depend on for cleanliness, good prices, great stock, and best of all, great people. I'm not putting any places down, but let's be honest, you guys and girls have been to a head shop or a smoke shop. This is not a head shop, but a smoke shop. And you've went in, it's like the people working there, they're young, so they remind me like a little sus, and there's some people coming in and out, and you're like, what's going on here? You're not going to get that at the Puff and Joint. The Puff and Joint is all just beautiful, great retail, good stuff. I wanted to do a shout out for my people there. Everyone's doing it right there at Puff and Joint Smoke Shop in Seminole Boulevard. It's about 90th Avenue, west side of Seminole Boulevard if you're heading north toward Olmington Road. So I did that. And I'm going to see if anybody answered my trivia question. Oh, there's so many more comments. I'm sorry. Peter Blake says, tomorrow morning, live coaches press conferences. Yes, tomorrow. Is it? No, it's not tomorrow. Is it the morning? That's right. They moved it up to the morning. We'll see you from over there at the ReliaQuest Coaches Conference between who doesn't remember Luke Fickell, the coach for the Wisconsin Badgers, when he was playing next to Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson at Ohio State, and he was playing nose guard. Big guy, ends up undrafted free agent, plays for the Saints, has an ACL, but all of a sudden he's back at Ohio State coaching. He was coaching defense. He starts off at it because he was born and raised in the state of Ohio. Um, we remember him with the Cincinnati Bearcats, and all of a sudden the Cincinnati Bearcats are just locking it down, shooting, punching way above their weight class, if you will. And of course, now he's coaching the Wisconsin Badgers versus, and of course they go up in a ReliaQuest Bowl versus Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers. Um, and of course, those two have that history, having been the Cincinnati Bearcats beating the Notre Dame Irish when Kelly was coaching there and Fickell was there in Cincinnati back in 2021. So they got a little bit of a history. I want to see if anyone talks to them, ask them about that tomorrow. That's kind of an interesting underlying story going into this. I think they're on two different teams between the Irish and the Cincinnati Bearcats now, and of course the LSU Tigers and the Wisconsin Badgers. But these coaches have history. Another one of those reasons why when you're sitting in a room, and Peter Blake, you know what I'm talking about. Go back to PJ Fleck or Malzahn. When we're sitting in a room with these coaches, these college institutional coaches, these coaches that not only have a history themselves, but they're coaching these dogs of today and the NFL dogs of tomorrow. But when you're in a room, and that's why press conferences, especially this entire season, we've seen it this entire season. Talking to Coach Alex Golesh there, the USF Bulls, who, by the way, stay tuned for what's going on with the Bulls in 2024. Horns up, so exciting! But I've learned that over the season and all the press conferences post game with Coach Golesh is like, you get to see the side of coaches you just don't get to see in sound bites. And of course, that's what we're doing covering the press conferences. We're getting some of that, the coaches you don't see in the sound bites and, all this media that we have, and doesn't really give us the good stories, which you guys and girls know that's what I'm about. I love a story. I'm not going to make up numbers and stats or historical, maybe sometimes if it's really dramatic, but no, it's all about the story. So again, stay tuned for tomorrow as we got you covered for the coaches conference between the Wisconsin Badgers and the LSU Tigers for the ReliaQuest Bowl 2024. Thanks to the entire staff and crew at the ReliaQuest Bowl for not only keeping where we've been at now, going into the 37th year of this bowl game we've been fortunate to have here in Tampa Bay, but taking it up another level. That's what they're doing at the ReliaQuest Bowl and the staff this year. Thank you all so much for everything. I wish I could tell you how I want to see Bowl smile once. That's why I'm going to go back, Rock. Of course, Rock, your Dolphins. I mean, I was going to say this week, it would have been tonight down there at the Brass Captain in Madeira Beach. You and I did that live show last week where somebody spiked my drink, and I don't know what happened there. I lost 2 days. It was good. Luckily, it was a holiday weekend, but both our teams won, and we talked about a Florida Super Bowl. Stay tuned there. You guys got a big game this week. You'll see you lock it down. There's my guy. Scott Bradford says, Dave Canales is getting to know his players better, too. Another reason he's calling a better game. 100%, Scott. I just love the fact that I don't get the feeling as Canales is learning his players, but the players are learning that offense, and all of a sudden everybody in the world is surprised that, whoa, the Bucs have a good defense. Oh, wait, and they still have a couple of really a Hall of Fame receiver, and some would pose one that was coming right behind them, and this offensive line at Jason Land. Surprised they're doing well. No, but I'm also surprised, but I'm also pleasantly surprised that you don't see an offense and a defense. And last season, you saw it with the struggles with Tom Brady against these very Saints when it was 4th down with 3 minutes or under 3 minutes left in the game, and like we're going for it. Something just happened. It blinked out on me. So let me get that off. I mean, we're going for it. And Tom Brady's like, we're going for it. And Todd Bowles is like, get your butt to the sideline. No, we're not going for it. And so Tom respectfully goes to the sidelines, didn't like it. And the Bucs ultimately, was it Rachaad White's first touchdown catch, a walk-off? I know it wasn't Cade Otton's. It was Rachaad White with his first touchdown in the NFL, walk-off victory just about versus those New Orleans Saints right there at Raymond James Stadium. This year, it just seems like this team's sabbatical. They're all about, hey, let's just do what it takes to win. And we went through that hard time in the season. And I've been telling my Dallas Cowboy friends and my Philadelphia Eagles fans, and I'm not going to tell them the reason why I think that their teams can beat our team, but I tell them, look, it's better to see your team go through these struggles now than go into this postseason like we're world beaters. We can beat anybody, and then get knocked off your pedestal by a Ravens team that walks into Levi Stadium and just embarrasses. Scott Bradford also says, also, the passing lanes Bakers was missing, he's not missing them now. Yes, God, it's like Baker had to learn to trust this offensive line, but this offensive line, I used to call Donovan Smith, Jameis Winston's backside dance partner. Donovan Smith he wasn't a road grader run blocker, but every time Donovan Smith would drop back and Jameis, you'd always see Jameis he'd feel the pressure from Donovan, and he realized if D. Smith wasn't keeping it locked down from the left side, he had to pull out. So it takes a moment for an offensive line to learn a quarterback's tendencies under real fire. But as Baker's learned to trust his offensive line, and the offensive line has learned the art of Baker, and then all of them have learned this Dave Canales offense, it's really been the perfect blossoming of an offensive season, which is why it's so exciting here in late December 28th that football here in Tampa Bay is just strong with the ReliaQuest Bowl, the Saints game this Sunday, Week 17 matchup versus those Carolina Panthers at Carolina. Scott Bradford says the two rookies, Diaby and Kainsey, are doing a great job with the pass rush. Another reason for improvement on defense. And I'm looking too, Scott. I'm watching Sac Avenue there inside. Oh God, why am I drawing a blank now? But I'm watching Vita Vea and Kainsey, and it's funny because the last time, and I'm not taking away from what Will Golston was doing. I'm not taking away what some of our dogs this year are doing, but the last time I focused on two interior defensive linemen, it's weird to say this, but it's true because I thought this Sunday when we were watching that game versus those Jacksonville Jaguars, Scott, it reminds me of when I used to watch Culpepper and Warren Sapp. Although the two of them, neither of them were as big or as powerful as Vita, but and Kainsey doesn't have the size of a Warren, but the way the two of them are working, they're running stunts. It reminds me of what we first got when we brought Culpepper from the Vikings. Of course, when Dungy came over and came and took the head coaching position, we teamed him up with a Warren Sapp inside, and that's just. They're blowing up the middle, and they're leaving the outside blitzes for an Antoine Winfield or a Devin White. Or are we going to drop back? Is Joe Tryon, who's now playing more of a pure outside linebacker instead of a rushing or hands on the ground linebacker, utilizing his speed? Suddenly, we're realizing that it's not really ever been a problem with Jason Light identifying talent and drafting talent. I mean, that's 100% been, the good stuff. What it is finding the right schemes and the right situations for them to all feed off each other, and that's what we have. They're doing a great job. But yeah, Diaby and Kainsey are doing a great job inside there, Scott. Thank you. Corey Brown says Baker Mayfield keeps on playing, can lead Bucs to NFC Championship and Super Bowl. Corey Brown, 100%. It's going to take all 53 and the coaches. It's going to take a lot of. You're going to have to. But I think what we see now. I'll tell you all what. You want to know how I know that Corey Brown? Great comment, Corey, by the way. You want to know why I agree with Corey Brown being 100% correct on that? It's because I want to go back and replay that Eagles game. The Eagles right now, with the questioning their defensive, firing their defensive coordinator and bringing in Matt Patricia, and is Jalen going to be Jalen? And it's not just about the Philly special or the tush push or whatever they're calling it, Shoverly Love or whatever stupid acronym or saying they have for that. I want to go back and play the Detroit Lions again with this offense the way they're playing. I want to go back. I'd go to Levi Stadium, and it might take that to get to the NFC Championship game and then get to 58 in Las Vegas. It might take going out to Levi Stadium to play against Mr. Irrelevant and that Mike Shanahan defense or offense. Remember, guys, girls, go back and watch the Bucs 49ers. The Bucs were never in contention to win that, as far as they were never dominating. But it took them until the third quarter to finally find Brandon Ayuk on a big crossing pattern. The Bucs defense was keeping everything in front of them, bend but don't break. The offense was struggling because it was still earlier in the season. They hadn't found this consistency. It's just so ironic that because of the first place schedule the Bucs played in 2023, that to get to that NFC Championship game and then to get to that Super Bowl, it's going to be against a Detroit Lions or a Philadelphia Eagles or a Dallas Cowboys or a San Francisco 49ers. There could be some other team in there, but it would take a victory against one of those teams that the Buccaneers already saw in 2023. And even though they're going to be preparing because they're going to say, whoa, Baker just found his stuff and this offense is moving, they're not going to be able to prepare for what the Bucs could have in store to bring at them. So the Bucs have the upper hand this time. I'd go back and face any one of those teams with this team we have right now, not just because we're winning. The winning's great, but because of what this offense is doing and the consistency this team is playing with, even McLaughlin and Jake Camarda and the special teams. I mean, look at the pursuit downfield. Look at Trey Palmer. Look at again, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka on coverage. He was in on every tackle downfield, utilizing that speed and size last week. You got a lot of guys that are going through a wall. And I look forward to a rematch with any one of those teams. That's why Corey Brown. That might be my comment of the day so far. Thank you. Tim Witherspoon says, was the coach Steve Spurrier? Okay, what was my question again? No, I lost it. Tim, so Steve Spurrier was never coach of the Bucks, although for a minute there we were kind of hoping it was a time in the 80s or into the 90s. But actually our first victory was at New Orleans, and the coach was was Mr. Matriculate down the field himself, Mr. Hank Scram. And of course, he got fired that week after the loss to the Bucks. To give them their first victory in team, and the Bucks would come back and win their first home game. Paul Buckpower Stewart, great post, because he just had it last weekend. Come back and they win their first home game was the way the Bucks finished. And let me tell you something. As much as getting off the 0-26 schneid was, and getting that first victory in New Orleans, getting that victory at home, even finishing the season 2-12 after 0-14, you're like, as Bucks fans, you're like, what are you looking forward to? We were on a roll. We got those last two games, and suddenly it became obvious that there was something happening here with this defense and this Tampa Bay team under John McKay, under Leroy Selman, under Doug Williams, under Kevin House, under Ricky Williams, under Dave Pear, go on and on. The dogs we had going on here. So it was Hank Scram. Corey Brown says Bucks could sneak Super Bowl talk. Yeah, 100%. Oh, you always got one like this, Tim. Let me get this up here. Tim Witherspoon says, my grandmother went to high school with Hank Stram. Is it Hank Stram? I'll tell you what, dog of a player, dog of a coach, with the Chiefs for so many years. Of course, though, the Bucks got that first victory. He was a good guy. He was back in the days when it's starting to get a little chilly out here. Back in the days where, you couldn't depend on all these high tech, 18 cameras in every game and all these angles and the breakdown analysis. And you had to go more on just what the color guy was saying. And Hank Stram was one of the best. So, man, Tim, that's pretty awesome. Where was that high school? Hank Stram, I'm just going to try to guess, talking about his accent, where he came from. It was Kansas City. Did your grandmother grow up in Jersey, Philadelphia, Tim? Because Hank just seems to me like he'd be a Jersey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania kind of guy. So I'm going to close this out. I got my hour. I just wanted to go ahead and tell you all this. Basically, this is all about, it wasn't going to be about the bowl games and the FSU Seminoles, although because until these games are played and we see the final coaches poll and the AP poll, we don't know what's going to go on and see who wins, who loses, who's going to be in that championship game. But moving forward, I do believe that, you're going to see this every year. There's going to be teams that are going to be on the brink, that they're going to feel they should be in that 12 team next year, but there's always going to be more than 12. There's going to be always 5 or 6 teams that feel like they should. Now, this year it was only maybe one, being the Florida State Seminoles, which totally should have been seeded in top 4. But if that's the way you're going to play it, because of an injury to a quarterback, or because a coach is taking another job, or, maybe imagine this. What if Michigan, I know everything with Michigan this year and Coach and Jim Harbaugh was planned out, but what if Michigan was rolling along undefeated? They win the Big Ten, they're doing everything they have to, and all of a sudden college football decides to drop sanctions on Michigan, and now they're going to suspend Harbaugh for the postseason and first 2 games of the next season. Does that mean that Michigan shouldn't be in the top? Shouldn't be up there? Moving forward next year, when we got obvious guys that are going on, they're the number 1 pick or whatever, and I guess we'll have to see what Penix is doing. I guess we're going to have to see what Bo Nix is doing. I don't think Nix is playing, but are we going to have to start seeding our teams for those playoffs based on who is or isn't playing, or who is or isn't getting into the transfer portal? I mean, set that. Oh, okay. So right here, Tim, Northern Indiana. So, I mean, I said, well, I did go Jersey, but I think Pennsylvania, and then coming over here, and Indiana's a little bit more west, but totally in that area. Just a bare knuckles, brass bones kind of guy than Hank Stram. So thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Sharing a little bit of that love. I appreciate that, brother. I almost thought I said Northern Ireland. So talked about that. Talked about Baker, the success that this team is having. I find it quite funny that the world was surprised that the number 1 overall draft pick that won the Heisman and followed Lincoln Riley, and we knew he could play. And of course, just because of what Kevin Stefanski was thinking, or how Matt Rule couldn't, it would have taken more than a great quarterback to save Matt Rule's job. And of course, Sean McVay doesn't want him. Well, Sean traded his wife and 17 draft picks for Matt Stafford to come to LA. So that deal's not over yet. So I think it was a perfect world. I think the Bucks were 100% lucky that Baker was looking for a rebuild. And man, what a rebuild Tampa Bay ended up being. not only maybe a rebuild. Of course, you hear that Baker and his wife are going to have a child now, and that's great news. But maybe it's a place here in Tampa Bay. Baker may just want to stay. And of course, I think the Buccaneer fans at this point are ready to say, Baker, stay, Baker, stay. But let's get that money right. Big thing Baker's going to have that I think that no one's really painted this narrative except for to say, again, Sal Palantonio on with the JP Peterson show yesterday. The Bucs have to figure out a way to get Baker paid. You have to figure out a way to get Mike paid. How much would Mike be willing to do to stay with Baker? How much of a deal with the team is Baker willing to do? No one's asking anybody to take a loss on this thing, but is that the kind of Baker? It's you found your home. You've got dogs here. You know what Jason Light does. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. I'm not saying it's the best place, but it's kind of cool out here on December 28th. Ready to take this sweatshirt off and grab some of the great food down here at Krabby's on the Pass. I really am really ready for that, and a beer. This kind of place you want to stay. That's going to be interesting because both of those dogs are going to be under contract, as well as a few other players. As you want to see Vita get that next contract, maybe Jason Light starts working with Tristan Wirfs and starts locking in these players for the future players. So that's going to be an interesting concept. Corey Brown. Last comment of the day, maybe, Corey? Bucs versus Cowboys playoff rematch. I think Bucs win this time. Defense beats the Cowboys, offense and offensive line. Of course, with the injuries they've had, with the offense that we got going, all you got to do is give this Buccaneers defense a little bit of a lead. All you got to do is just step up and slap the opposing team early in the game and have them trying to figure out what's going to work. And they have to limit those chances to figure it out because the Bucs offense is matriculating up and down the field. There's your Hank Stram shout out, Corey. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the comments, everybody. Again, we got to cover with the coaches conference tomorrow there from the Hyatt and the Hyatt Airport Hyatt over there in Tampa. Wisconsin Badgers, LSU Tigers, Amped Up Sports, Leo Haggerty, Peter Blake, myself. We got you covered like a blanket all through this weekend. Got the Bucs game on Sunday. Got the ReliaQuest on Monday, the very first bowl game of 2024. Stay here with PHB Studios, the Sports Web. Thanks for all your comments out here. They did not expect to get this many comments on a Thursday. Oh, got a boat coming in. See if they caught anything. I bet they'll wave. You think you see them wave? Yeah, they were out all night. They're not waving at nobody. They just want to get ahead. They want to get that fish off that boat. Thanks for joining for a little improvisational cup of Ray from down here at Krabby's on the Pass. Again, smoking joint puff shop there, smoking puff and joint smoke shop there on Seminole Boulevard. Krabby's on the Pass here at John's Pass. Shout out to the Johns Pass Bridge. The bridge hasn't even gone up. I guess nobody's going on a sailboat today. All the Pelicans are lined up. Pelicans are all still congregating into the channel over here. I don't think it's bad TV if I can show you guys. You know what I'll do? Before I cut out, I'll take the camera. Don't get sick. And I'll show you guys where I'm at. Okay. So there's John's Pass. Okay. Oh, the pirate ships in the Intercoastal. They went out. Got some people swimming over there. That's crazy. Maybe you can see all the pelicans and some of the water down here. I'm Ray Kennedy. This has been Cup of Ray. We'll see you on the next edition. ReliaQuest, Buccaneers, Saints. Keep it here. We got you covered. Thanks, everybody. Everyone needs to know someone cares. As we get toward the new year, let them know you're the one. It'll come back. I